We've been playing that for a few days now. Kendra is on the show. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. So we've been playing Shib, but before we go to Shib, how did music get started for you?
That's a great question. Well, it all started back when I was four, really. Um, I grew up with a piano in my house, and at that point, I had maybe plunked around a little bit as any normal 4-year-old would. Um, but for some reason, I just felt like I had the song stuck in my head. And I thought, I'm going to go sit down and play it on the piano. And something inside of me knew that I could play it on the piano. And so I did. I sat down and played it with both hands. And my parents thought it was my older sister who had taken some lessons. And that's how it started for me. I took lessons, but really my passion has always been creating music and recreating, I guess, playing by ear. But um, I played, yeah, I made all kinds of music growing up, had a synthesizer, and it had the ability to record 16 tracks. And so fifth grade through my senior year of high school, I was sitting in my parents' house, like just like coming up with all kinds of songs. And um, yeah, so that's where it all started for me. And I've just now as a mom starting to rekindle that passion and that creativity.
So, so you talked about rekindling the relationship and that creativity for you as a person who loved music. So, do you get at some point? Do you later stop doing music?
I never stopped. I never really stopped. Um, like I explained, that creative space of recording songs on my synthesizer, that was like all growing up really until I went off to college. And then when I was in college, I played piano all the time. I went to the music rooms there, and like every night I would play the piano. But I wasn't really getting into that creative space as much as like making a full song and that kind of a thing. So, and I went to college in Nashville, Tennessee, and I ended up in a band there, and that's where I met my husband. So we were still doing music and things like that, but just in a little bit of a different way um, than I did growing up and am starting to come back to now.
Oh
So,
yeah, okay. And
mhm.
and so then the decision then to start, because you are playing, you're active, you're playing the piano and all that, but then the decision to start putting out songs, recording your own original compositions, what sparked that for you?
Yeah. So I was watching a YouTube video last year at some point. I was of this artist, Jacob Collier. He
Oh, he's
was,
crazy. He's crazy.
yeah, he's incredible. And I was just watching him, and it was like this creativity that was inside of me was waking up. And, and then simultaneously, I was feeling this grief that I hadn't been practicing or honing in on this creativity for so many years. And so out of out of experiencing that and sitting kind of with that grief a little bit, this song Like the Moon came out, and I just sat down on my piano and it just came out of me. And it's the first single that I released, and you can find that anywhere. But yeah, it's this. The lyrics are, "I barely know me anymore. I've been waxing and waning just like the moon, and I barely know me anymore." And that's how I felt when I was watching this artist who had been obviously honing in on his craft for so long and so incredible, and how he executes this obviously genius in his brain, like everything. And I just felt like that creative part of me, not like that level, but that part of me that had been dormant is like a huge part of me that I was grieving. And I didn't really know myself anymore. Just when I reflected on that, but at the same time, because I had chosen to live the path I have, and I have a husband and I have three wonderful little children, I've also grown so much. So it was just like simultaneously, I am not this person that I have been, but at the same time, I've grown into a way better person than I ever could have been if I was just wanting to attain this one thing of music. So kind of these complex feelings, and that song came out, I Barely Know Me Anymore. And it's not just a grieving, but it's also like, wow, I'm actually a better person too, because I've chosen this path. So
Oh, yeah. So
that's where, yeah, that was what catapulted me into I was like, I have to do something with this song. And then I just realized pretty soon, okay, I have a bunch of songs that have been sitting in my voice memos, for years, and other things coming out that I realized now I have a full-length album that I'm ready to record. And little by little, with three kiddos, I'm going to work towards doing that. But yeah, now I got those two songs out, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
but was there like a fear for you to see how to even approach, because you have all these voice memos you've had?
Yeah.
Uh, how was it like, getting into creating the first single, which was like the moon?
Yes. I think that part, it is more natural for me. And I tend to, when a song comes to me, I do kind of hear it more in its fullness, like the vague, this is where it's gonna move. And yeah, the orchestration a little bit. So that's how it came. Like the Moon was one of my more recent songs. And so that one just made sense to me, like, okay, we're gonna do this one first. And that was more fresh in my head of the orchestration of like what I envisioned, which my friend Lexi was on the violin in that one, and she's incredible. That was like greater than I could have imagined, but that's what I heard initially. I was like, violin. This has got to have violin. Um, and yeah, I think as I revisit these songs, there's a general, um, maybe a general concept or a trajectory that I have, but I'm just really grateful. My husband is also a musician. He's a guitarist, so he's played electric. On Ship, he played electric and bass, and so I just trust him so much with his taste and what he wants to do with it. So that's, I mean, such a blessing. I'm so grateful
Yeah.
to have that. And then the guy he's been producing, and he's the sound engineer on my song, Corey. He makes a lot of his own sounds, and he's also a musician under his name is Surname. And so he has his things he adds as well. And so it's just like I'm in good hands. I
Yeah.
don't need
Yeah.
to make all of that come to life. So
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the song, we are still talking to Kendra Connors on the show, the Xtreme BPM, Tuesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. East African time. So the song you talked about in their Sheep is what we've been playing on the show for the last few days. So Sheep, what does this mean for you?
The song Ship is about relationship. And it was a song that I wrote in reflection to a relationship that ended up having a falling out, and that was really hard. It was in a really hard time for me. But really where I got this perspective was just from learning how to fight for a relationship in marriage, being married to my husband Chris, and just learning that really truly loving the person in front of you means that you put aside your stuff, your pride, your hurt, whatever it is, put it aside and and like move towards that person, and that's challenging. That's hard to do that, but that's the only way we're going to achieve unity and peace, and that's true love is to lay down your life, to put aside your life for the person in front of you. And so that's really what the song is about, ultimately, is yeah, fighting for the person that's in front of you.
And how does it feel like when you're writing, when this song is literally about you maneuvering? Because in relationships, like there's nothing that is like obvious, like, oh, I'm going to fall into a perfect relationship of I don't know what to do at every certain point of my of our relationship. It's always like a learning curve. So you learn how to, live with someone and uh, deal with someone differently in the aspect that this is someone who is in your life and you're sharing a bond together or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
how does it feel when you're creating that and you're being vulnerable and then probably working with your husband on that at the same time? Because this is literally
Yeah.
about something that both of you share, but it's
Right.
you being vulnerable and creating this, and he's guiding and contributing to that. How does
Yeah.
how does that uh, uh, I guess what was the experience for both of you while creating this song?
Yeah. That's a big goal for me. I think, I mean, we all have this fear around people seeing our the mess of the messy side of things. I think if we're honest, I haven't met anyone that's like, oh no, I'll just share everything or whatever. But I think the more vulnerable you can be as a person, as an artist, for me, the more people are going to connect with it. And Chris is just a very real person too. And this is, being in relationship with him is where I learned this perspective. But the song Ship is really in reflection of this certain situation with my friend, this falling out. So um it was, that line that it says, I'm a mess is my confession, but I've learned that's where healing starts. And so yeah, I'm afraid our lost connection needs healing in both hearts, so really the thing about relationship is you have to acknowledge your stuff, but it has to be a two-way street. It has to be a two-way street for there to be true reconciliation. You can have forgiveness and move on. You can say, okay, you don't want that, I forgive you, and you can move on. But if you really want reconciliation, it has to be both people fighting for it. And so it's really a song that, for me, I could be singing this at any moment, and then Chris could be singing it to me at any moment. Come on, like, can't you just listen to me? Like, can't you just put your stuff aside, and can't we just move towards each other? So I think it's relatable both ways, probably at any point. Um, so yeah.
Oh yeah, interesting. So so the song that is out that we're talking about, guys, is Sheep, coming in from Kendra Connors on the Xtreme BPM. So you said you have all this music that is laying in your phone, in your voice memos. Uh so plans of, are you going to release, are you trying to come up with a whole entire project, or you're going to keep on a singles best approach?
No, I had the vision was I have these two singles, I have one more single that I'm going to release, and those singles will be a little bit of uh um like a narrative, small narrative arc of what the full length album will be. So it's kind of storyline ish, and um yeah, so the full length album would include those three singles, and I have it like planned out in my brain, the order pretty much of all the songs, because it goes from this place of like the moon, where you're like, I'm trying to find myself, even am I, to finding that place, finding home, that
Yeah,
grounding, and then coming out of that, and this hopefulness, but leaving on that note of like, I've found home. So that's the concept, and yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. So the song that is out right now, Sheep, guys, that's what we were talking about on the show, and you'll be listening to that on the Ejazz Make Show, but also on subsequently on the other shows. And it's available everywhere you get music too. You can go and stream that, go check it out. So for people that want to connect with you, where would you send them? Where are you mostly active? Where they can easily connect with you?
I am so I streaming platforms, I'm on Spotify, and then you might be able to hear one of my children in the background.
No worries.
um And then additionally, I'm on Instagram. You can find me there. I just kind of restarted freshly, so it's just me. It's my fam. I put music on there too. So but yeah, Instagram, and then streaming platform. Any streaming platform you can find my music really. So
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
at Kendra Connors.
Yes, Kendra Connors, that's right. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show, and it's been great having you on. We look forward to listening to more of the music, but for now, we shall be enjoying Sheep right here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.